Hi, fourth grade. It's me again, Mrs. Smith, and we're reading Wild Robot Escapes. And the last time we read, Roz was falling down from the rooftop. Here's chapter 79, The Designer. Roz awoke slowly. She was surprised to be waking up at all. The fall from that building should have destroyed her, and yet here she was. But where was she? Everything was silent and dark and silent. Was this where robots go when they die? No. As her system activated, the real world came into focus. She saw white walls and floors, and she heard a hum of machinery in the background. Roz was somewhere inside a robot factory, where she had been made. A pile of parts lay on the floor. The parts were smashed and mangled, and it took a moment for Roz to realize she was looking down at her own broken body. It took another moment for her to realize she was now nothing more than a robotic head. Her head was sitting atop the electronic box and powered her computer brain. Roz still had her thoughts and her voice, but without her body, she couldn't move. So she sat there, completely helpless, and waited for the makers to appear. The makers did not appear. Instead, Roz heard soft footsteps from an old woman who appeared. She was elegant, with white hair and red lipstick and black clothes. Flowery perfume wafted behind her. Every detail of the woman was neat and precise, except for her fingers, which were smudged with dark grease. "Welcome back, Roz," said the woman, wiping her hands on a rag. There's the woman. "I wasn't sure I'd get your computer brain working again. You took quite a spill out there. How do you feel?" Roz just stared. "You don't have to pretend anymore," said the woman. "I know you're not a normal robot. Everybody knows. You made that perfectly clear when you led the Ricos on that wild chase through the city." Roz remained silent. "I watched the video of the chase. I don't know how you got those penguins to attack our airships, but I'm sure interested in the goose. You seem to be speaking with it. Can you explain this to me?" "The goose is my son," said Roz at last. "Is that so?" The woman arched an eyebrow. "Roz, I repaired your computer brain so I could talk with you. I wanted to know how you came to be this way. So let's talk. I'll begin by introducing myself. My name is Dr. Malovo. A long time ago, I fell in love with computers and robots, and I created a company called Tech Lab Industries. Since millions of robots have been produced right here in this factory, and I've designed every last one of them." Dr. Malovo leaned forward. "Roz, I designed you." Chapter 80, The Beautiful Glitch. Deep inside the fancy robot, Dr. Malovo was sitting with Roz on Unit 7134. Roz was now just a robotic head. But for a moment, her head was still all she needed. The robot and the designer had many questions for each other, and they sat there for hours having a conversation like these. "What happened on the island?" said Dr. Malovo. "Tell me everything." The robot told her everything and described how she awoke on the rocky shore and how her only desire was to survive, and how difficult life was in the harsh place. "To survive in the wild, I had to become wild," said Roz. "So I studied the animals. I mimicked their behavior, and I learned to speak their language." "Incredible," said Dr. Malovo. "You're programmed to learn different languages, and you're programmed to work with animals. But I never imagined you could learn to speak with animals." "Although I could speak to the animals, they still did not trust me," said Roz. "So I tried to win them over with kindness. Animals ran from me and laughed at me and attacked me, and I always responded with kindness. It was a good strategy. But the key to my survival came in the form of a gosling. When I adopted Brightbill, everything changed. I was finally accepted by my animals. I was surrounded by friends and family, and I was home." Now, I want to stop right here for a second. Notice what she kept saying. I surrounded them with kindness. I responded with kindness. And it was a good strategy. So that's something to think about. Think about in themes throughout the story. Kindness. Roz always showed kindness throughout the story. "Am I the only wild robot?" said Roz. "I don't know," said Dr. Malovo. "Many defective robots have been returned over the years. It's impossible to know if any were like you until we destroyed them. Will you destroy me?" The woman sighed. "Roz, people are afraid of you. They saw you fleeing through the city, and they think you're dangerous. They want to know the danger is gone. And so, when we're finished speaking, I will have to destroy you." "I'm not dangerous," said the robot. "That part of my programming has never failed. Even if I wanted to be violent, I could not. Have you ever wanted to be violent? No. Every problem has a peaceful solution. Violence is unnecessary. I wish it were that simple, said Dr. Malova. It's an amazing time to be alive, but there's still crime. There's still wars. There's still violence. Is it unavoidable? Is that why you have RICOs? Said Roz. The RICOs are designed to do all sorts of unpleasant jobs. Some of those jobs require us to use force. Do you ever worry that they might use force against you? The RICOs have never given me a single reason to worry, said Dr. Malova, but you have. How did you escape from Hilltop? Said Dr. Malova, leaning forward. Roz didn't answer. Let me guess, the children helped you. Roz just stared. They're not in any trouble. If I were them, I would have helped you too. They were really good children, said Roz finally. And yet you left them, said Dr. Malova. Leaving was not easy. I care about everyone on our Hilltop farm, and I did my best to look after them all, but I did not belong there. And when the children discovered who I really was, they agreed. They wanted me to go home, so they helped me escape. Why do I fear water? Why am I female? Why was my body designed this way? Why does the computer brain know some things and not others? Why? Dr. Malova laughed. Why do you need all the answers? You programmed me to learn, said Roz, and I am simply trying to learn about myself. The woman shifted in her seat. Those questions are more complicated than you realize. There are countless little considerations that go into designing any robot. I have to determine the robot's size and strength and appearance. I have to give the robot a proper programming and a computer brain. I have to predict how many people will react to the robot. I have to imagine that everything could possibly go wrong, but all my decisions are guided by a single question. What is the robot's purpose? Quietly, Roz asked her designer, what is my purpose? I'm sorry to disappoint you, Roz, but you don't have some of the grand purpose. Like all Rosm robots, you were designed to work for humans. That's it. The robot thought for a moment and then said, I once suggested to a group of wild animals that my purpose might simply just be to help others. The designer thought for a moment. Then she said, when you put it that way, your purpose does sound rather grand, doesn't it? How would you feel if someone said you could never go home to your family? Asked Roz. Dr. Malova smirked. Nobody would say that to me. I've spent my whole life creating robots. I've never had time for a family. You created me, said Roz. In a way, I am your child, and you are my mother. I am not your mother, said Dr. Malova flatly. I am not your mother, repeated Roz. Those were my first words to Brightbill, but I was wrong. The woman stroked her chin. Up on the rooftop before you fell. What were your very last words to Brightbill? I told him I loved him. How do you know your feelings are real, said the woman. How do you know your feelings are real, said the robot. Your brain might be defective, said Dr. Malova, but it certainly is fascinating. I did not choose to be this way, said Roz, but this is who I am, and you would be wild if you were born and raised in wilderness. Maybe I am defective. Maybe I've experienced is the result of a glitch. But if so, what a beautiful glitch. I have my own thoughts and feelings. I made a life for myself. I have a son. Brightbill is somewhere out there right now wondering if he'll ever see his mother again. Dr. Malova, you do not need to destroy me. You can fix me and I will return to my island in the city. Will never see me again. I promise. I just want to go home. Please help me. There were tears in Dr. Malova's eyes. The old woman had heard enough. Without a word, she reached behind Roz's head and pressed the button. Click. And for that, today is all. We'll find out next time what happens. Have a great day. Make sure you take a look at the question for today and look at the PDF of the pages for today's question so you make sure you give your text evidence to your answer. Take care.